Addict.
Hello there. Welcome to Recovering Addict. I'm LT and I'm an alcoholic addict. COVID shutdowns this year have been so crazy, I decided to just download myself into this program. I am 100% digital now. I am in this laboratory you see behind me. Everything is okay here. We're just working on a cure for substance abuse. So far, we haven't been able to find anything. But you can call me L to the T. That's who I am today on this episode of Recovering Addict. Ta-da!
Fully digital. We have become
Nerds.
the computer.
We are nerds.
LT and the computer are now one.
Wow. That stuff's crazy. I just figured that out today. It's called a third-party camera, and that's Lumi. If you guys ever want to dink around. But next time you see me in a Zoom meeting, that's who you're going to see, because I am no longer Zooming in the flesh. I will be downloaded in digital. I can do whatever I want, and you guys will see me just like that.
He lives in the interwebs.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's how it's going to work from now on. I don't even care.
Mark almost had a heart attack. Hey, Miss Hadley.
The big hump in the house. Amanda,
Hey,
what's going on,
long
sister?
time no see.
Miss ya. Hope you're doing good. So today on Recovering Addict, we're going to talk about meth. On top of talking about meth, we have a special guest, Kimmie. She's going to come on and share her story with us. She's going to talk about addiction and recovery, because that's what we do on this channel. On this channel, we go over educational books. We try to build a community. We are actually building a community that's greater than ourselves. And it is here for 100%.
That's funny.
That's awesome. Look at Allie. Dork. Oh, we're such dorks. But what else do you do when you're locked down, right? But yeah, this is a channel on education to recovery. We get inspired by each other and strength and hope. And this next month or so, I'm just going to have reoccurring guests. Next Sunday night is going to be Amber. The following Tuesday is going to be John V, the big John V in the house. And that's what I'm just going to do for a little while. And another announcement that I want to make is I'm putting together a 30-day course. It's going to be 4 days, maybe 3 days. I still haven't figured out the fourth day. But it'll be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's going to be 1 hour prior to the Zoom, and I'm going to try to teach everything that's taught in an IOP. We're going to go over the 12 steps. We're going to talk about how to take your inventory. We're going to talk about post-acute withdrawal syndrome. We're just going to cover everything in this 30-day course. It's about either 12 or 16 actual courses that are going to happen. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm going to build it. I'm going to do two, basically 30, 60 day. So two reoccurring meetings in a row as a prototype, have people show up. I'm going to build it as we go. And then on that 60th day, when it restarts and goes again, we're going to launch it, like big time launch it, so that people that don't have insurance, people that need instantly to jump into 100% recovery, and we just got to figure out how to hold them accountable and to get them in here. And, you know, that'll fill up their day. That means on Sunday night, we got this live plus the Zoom at 6. Mondays we got live, and then John, venture forward. We can push him to Nicole's channel for that hour or so. And then on Tuesday or Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we got the hour-long class, basically what it's going to be. And then a Zoom meeting right after that with Cherie. And I just think it's going to be a great way to get somebody completely immersed 7 days a week in recovery. And it's going to be absolutely free. So that we can help those people who, locally, a lot of people sometimes don't have the help, or they can't afford it. Right. And so we're just going to figure that out. And that's going to be the next 2 months of what's going on here as we lay that out. But without further ado, I want to invite my special guest on here. Her name is Kimmie. Kimmie, welcome to Recovering Addict. How are you doing today?
Hello. Good. How are you guys?
Good. Right on. Well,
Hey, Kimmie.
We're here. We're talking. We were addicts. In my early 2000s, I'm sure you've heard my story. I was a tweaker. I ended up with a felony, and I had no plans on quitting. I just ended up in jail. It's not like I was like messing around with meth and like, man, I got a problem. I should probably quit. No, I had that never, not one time crossed my mind. All of a sudden I woke or snapped to, I guess I should say. being called sleepy in a jail cell. I don't even remember going in. Once I fell asleep, it was a blur. But yeah, introduce yourself, who you are, what's your drug of choice, and how you got into it. And then real quick before you jump in, we're going to do a couple of segments at 15 after in 10 minutes. We're going to jump into the Discord. There are 3 questions in there that we're going to answer. And with your experience and my experience, I think we maybe might come up. And I looked up a couple of things too, but we could probably do that. And then Cassie should come on about 8:35, 8:40-ish. And so that'll give us a couple little breaks. So yeah, floor is yours. Have at it.
I'm Kimmie. I'm from Ohio. I'm a meth addict, and as strange as it sounds, I would say a hustler addict. I have 2 wonderful children. They're both adults. My son's 22. He has an amazing wife. They gave me a great grandbaby. She's 19 months. I have an amazing daughter who will be 19 this weekend coming. I used to do everything from being a deputy sheriff to a correctional officer, business management, and then everything changed.
Okay, that was a lot to unpack there. First thing you said you was a hustler, so we'll get to that because the hustler probably came as a part of the addiction.
Yes, well,
so
ish. Yeah,
ish. So, but you were say that again, a corrections officer.
I was a correctional officer after. So I moved to Florida for a little while, and I was a deputy sheriff there. That was like my dream growing up.
Yeah.
So after I was a deputy sheriff, me and my kids moved back to Ohio, back to your roots family. The Ohio policing is a little different, so you had to work like in the county jail first. So I did corrections there.
That's kind of how it is here.
And then it just didn't feel like it was for me anymore. So I actually ended up going to work at a halfway house. Then just kind of veered away from it and went into like account management and business management, things to that nature for 5-6 years.
So up to this point in your life, were you ever, I mean, I imagine you probably did what every person does, some drugs here and there, but were you ever like in active addiction during all that, or did this come later?
The active addiction came way later. I actually spent all of that time being that judgmental, crazy person that my ex-husband was an active meth user. We divorced because of it. It ruined our lives. I think that would have been a warning sign for me to be like,
Yeah. So how, let's go back a little bit further than that. Your childhood growing up, you've lived in Ohio your whole life?
Most of it's, that's where I was rootedly, but like we kind of bounced around. Florida a little bit, and then South Carolina. But
were your parents addicts or at all or anything?
Neither one of them was addicts. My dad like drank some. To me, it wasn't excessive. He was co-owner in a bar, so like
sure,
he was actively whatever, but I wouldn't say addicts.
Okay, so fairly normal childhood. You grow up, your dream's to be a police officer, so you go through the channels, you become a correction officer to jail. That's not really for you. You move into a halfway house. And I've been actually locked up into jail and a halfway house. So I know you very well. But so then you're in a halfway house, right? And this is where it starts not feeling like this career path for you. So you get into business management?
Yes.
Okay.
At that time, I entered into my second marriage. My husband was a felon. No, I didn't get in there. Like, no.
So he's an active addiction, and you're an officer?
He was like active addiction with like weed and things, but this was like my second husband. So there was like a 5-year period that I was single from my first husband and my second husband. That's when I like did the academy and thought I did all these accomplishments. But then when I was with him and he like smoked weed and it was just normal. And then I got to like hear the felon side of what a criminal really is as to what you're taught going through the police academy and what's the
difference? Like real quick, what's the difference in a nutshell? Like what you're taught and then what you found out to know.
Reality, like everything. Like I don't know how to answer it other than everything.
That's what it makes me think of. I remember one time I was a house mouse, right? I got to serve the food and stuff. And one of the cops, I was talking to two of the officers, and I can't remember what they said, but they're like, how many felons does it take to match the word of one officer or something like that in court? And I kind of see their view,
Yeah, it's horrible. It's it's horrible now, but it didn't take me long to be like, this dream is horrible. Who dreams about doing this? It's just, they're like, you literally take a 6-week course on like lying and construing lies, and then like, I don't know, it's just so, it's helpful but corrupt. Like, I feel like it's a very confusing justice system.
So you can spot a liar like a mile away now?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Probably just talk somebody into lying. Huh?
I forgot how to pay attention in class too.
You're like, he's probably lying.
Yeah. But yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Okay, so you get out of the halfway house. So did you just basically put your 2 weeks notice, resign, and then jump into business?
I actually had finished my associate's degree for business management, and I stayed at the halfway house like as needed on call.
Okay.
And I did that for probably 6-8 months, and then I just kind of stopped being on call. Just kind of never even really put in a notice. It was like I was inactive for over 30 days once, and they mailed me a letter like, yo, so you're not calling in to see. So they kind of like separated the employment there. And then by then the whole system, I had a different view on it. So because by then I had been with my second husband, who like just lived a different lifestyle. Like, he smoked weed, and to me, like, to each their own. That's not definitely the worst thing. But I was still like in the garage, not around my kids, and I don't involved in it. And so that was in like 2014. Didn't take long for that marriage not to work. 2016, 2017 is kind of when life really changed for me. Like, everything kind of went downhill. I always worked 2 jobs most of the time. I wanted my kids to always have what they deserved, like if they were to have 2 parents. And then I don't know, like your guys' book, one of the first times I like finally started asking questions, because I sat in the shadows like forever, like watching, like
in the digital bushes, as we like to call it.
Yeah. Sneaky.
How long did you start watching this show?
Shortly after COVID started. So for
wow.
Yeah.
You've
So
been
like
around
the
since
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Like I've said it like before in comments and whatnot, but I've never been to a meeting. You guys are definitely my blessing for learning about recovery outside of in my head, I guess, or looking something up online. Outside of that, my motivation has been my kids and my grandkid. So you guys, the support that you give and the steps is just
awesome. That's encouraging. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very.
Okay, so you're in business now. What is this job looking like to you?
I liked it. I did like collections for Department of Education. I was always very productive. So I guess I'll just like fast forward from there. So I did that for multiple years, and then my older half brother was in and out of prison a lot in his life. Loved him to death, like the best person anyone could ever ask to meet. But I always gave him a hard time. I'm like, you can do better, you can this, you can do that. So 2017, he came home from federal prison for the 4th or 5th time. And wow. It was...
Someone's saying there's no way you can have a grandkid.
20. We talked about it earlier. She is 20 years old.
That's right. That's right. 20. Yes, I have a 19-month-old grandbaby. She's adorable.
Awesome.
But yeah, he come home from prison.
And this is your brother?
Yes.
Okay, so he's in and out of prison, and you're trying to be support for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always gave him a hard time because, again, like I was set in that mindset, like if you got arrested, like you was the bad guy. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
what you did. And I never had like that open era. And he was a very active addict. But he was never active in my household per se, because he was like, there's like a 20 some year gap in time. So when he came home this time though, he was different. Like, he was like, I'm done. I'm ready to whatever. But he finally was in acceptance. Like, I'm an addict. He was home for 2 months, come on in February, March, April, like the very beginning of April, you could see him like drinking more, doing different things. And then in that time frame, like, he would be showing up at my house after work in the morning. My kids have to go to school or in high school. My son was actually like in college classes and working full time. And he would come in screaming at like 2 a.m. because he's drunk. He's like sitting on the steps, and I'm just like, Jess, please, like, we want to sleep.
Yeah.
So I started like pushing him away. I'm like, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. So then we would lock the doors. And then in April, mid-April, okay, so still at the beginning of April, I started pushing him away. My money situation.
What year is this about?
2017.
17, okay.
Yeah. My money situation had started to change right around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
My little brother was a very active meth addict. Like, his supplier had kind of like fell off, and for whatever reason, he's like, hey, can you get me whatever? So then I, for whatever reason, started like going and picking stuff up for him, and not using. But then I was like, ooh, I see dollar signs.
Right.
So I did that through April, April 24th. I clearly wasn't very experienced. Not a lot of time had lapsed. And most people in the meth world are good people. And then there's those few people that are not great. All they seen was a female rolling around with an ounce of meth, no firearm, and driving a $30,000 Challenger.
Yeah.
And clearly I was an easy target. So April 24th, I got off my normal job. I had tons of messages, to go make sales. So on my way to do that, my brother Jess had texted me, and he was like, what are you doing? Stay out of trouble. And it was just odd. It was like one of those things, like divine intervention.
Right.
And of course I didn't listen to it. I just carried on. And then right before I got to the stop, my son had texted me, and he was going to college and working full time. He was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, get to work, do something. He's like, I just want to check on you, make sure he's okay. Which now that's a common thing for me and my kids to ask all the time, which is reassuring and great. But back then it was uncommon. And I got like this crazy uneasy feeling still, like a retard, didn't listen. Carried on to this stop. When I got there, 2 guys was there, and they were going to initially rob me. Not your typical female. I wasn't just going to get robbed, or so I thought. So, I was a big, strong cop. Like, no one could do that to me. So needless to say, that turned bad. They ended up raping me. They actually left me there. And it was nice enough, though, to call the last number on my phone, which was my best friend, who was a male, but he lived like 30-40 minutes from us, or where I was. And like, I just remember him showing up, and like, to me it was just like all this big blur. It wasn't like until he picked me up that I even realized what had happened. And like,
so you pull up to this stop, you're by yourself, no firearm, a female. These guys not only rob you, but then they rape you, and then they call this guy for you?
Yeah, they called him and told him that they had found me at this park, and that I needed help. So, as crazy as that sounds now, like that whole situation kind of like changed my life. I would never wish that on anybody, never want to go through it again, but I definitely think it made me a better person today, like in certain ways. But that situation kind of like in my head was like, when my friend picked me up, he was a male, we've been best friends for years. The look on his face was when I realized like I was hurt and I like was covered in blood, and he was like, we got to get you help. And I was like, I'm fine. Like, you have to take me home is what you have to do. And he's like, no, you have to get help. Anyway, so I convinced him to take me home. And then on the way there, I realized, my God, my kids can't see me like this. So I ended up going to his apartment, like cleaning myself up. Needless to say, the next day I was still like bruises, crazy. And my kids are like, we've always had like a great bond. And that's like why I decided mostly to do this today is never known how to make them, I've never been honest with them fully or make them understand recovery yet, or even addiction, because I don't even know that I understand it fully. But I spent weeks lying to them that I was okay, that I got in a fight at a gas station. And my kids was so angry, like all the time. Like my son knew I was lying. And like our relationship started to distance some. Within a few days, my best friend had told my brother, and my brother was like every big brother, you know, they was looking out for little sister, like now it's time. And everybody knew him in our town. So he ended up catching one of the guys at a parking lot at a grocery store. They got into a fight. The guy ended up at the hospital, ended up having a warrant for his arrest and got arrested. So on May 11th, still like vague on some of the details, but I got a phone call from my brother and said that he was on a certain road and that he was dying. Like I said earlier, he would show up drunk all the time. So I'm like, oh my God, Jess, are you serious? Not tonight. Like, not in the mood for this. So I procrastinated going. Needless to say, when I showed up, sure enough, he had been shot. So, like I, of course, freaked out and just freaked out. And then it was, of course, a meth house where he had showed up to, and then all these people was seeking revenge, and they was who they was. And that was it for me. 2 hours of standing over him and like knowing like half of what was going on was my fault, was it. So I was full send. I was going in every meth house and doing whatever. And I started using after that, and it was a nightmare.
So did he survive, or did
No.
No,
he was actually it took me like 11 minutes to get there, but he was already gone before I got there.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, it was crazy. It was the most crazy thing ever. Won't veer off on the law enforcement aspect of that, but when I showed up, like he was just there. I don't know how to re-describe it again, other than like I had to stand there and they wouldn't let me move, which of course I'm like covered and whatever, because my natural reaction is to try to help him.
Right.
Yeah.
So and then it was calling my nephew and his other siblings and like, oh, this is what we have to do. And the same thing with my son happened that night. Like I remember standing at the police station when everybody was there, and as me and my nephew went to leave, my son was just like, Mom, no, like go home. Like go home. So I've never, like my kids have to have like some kind of crazy sixth sense that I just kept missing. because that was, if I just would have went home, like so much would have been saved. So
Right.
Yeah.
So up to that point, so you're basically dealing, you're running it around, right? You're making a little money off that. You get robbed. A month later, your brother gets shot and killed, and you still haven't used up to that point. And is this when you start using, or were you using a little bit before that?
that's when I started using.
So you said, screw it. Too much tragedy, too close together. I'm going.
Yeah. It was the perfect cop out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I totally get it. When my son was in his accident, and the same thing, I'm holding him while he's dying in my arms, blood all over me. It was just the perfect excuse to try to drink myself to death at that point.
Horrible. Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
Our kids are your babies. Yeah, so that's
I feel like I understand.
they will. That's how I finally ended up catching felonies over my kid. Now, I can't really blame that on addiction. I'm sure that it played a large part in some of how I reacted. It was August 12th. I was so paranoid all the time, which anyone that does meth, you know how it is. Like the bush monsters are coming for us.
Oh yeah.
So, but I didn't even know like if I was actually paranoid for real reasons or not. I kept like pressing the police department and doing things, and it was just crazy. But finally, like this circle of people, they was messing with us, but I was fueling that fire because I'm showing up at meth houses everywhere. Like I'm taking everybody's soul. Like you ruined my family.
Yeah.
It didn't work like that. But in August 12th, August 11th, these guys show up, and me and my son and my daughter-in-law was coming back from Mopar Nationals, which is a big race thing up here. And somebody like threw a brick at my car, and my son, he's like 6'2", 230 pounds, and he's mama's boy. So like he's immediately like jumping out of his vehicle, and I didn't see it at first, and then his vehicle was gone. My daughter's like, Mom. So then we back up, and this guy had tried to stab my son. And at that point, I was carrying a gun. And I was so mad. Like, I didn't even want to shoot them. Like, I kept screaming, like, did you try to shoot my son? Or stab my son? And then we ended up, like, separating ways, whatever. We carried on home. The next day, they showed up, like, physically to my house. But I was so methed out that there was no clarity in my head. All I knew was someone had actually tried to kill my kid at this point. These are the same like group of people that have killed my brother that had been involved in actually raping. So there was no, like, I was up all night, had like all these little cameras outside, and it was bad. So when they showed back up, the guy had jumped out of the car. My son come around the fence, and I had a gun. So I don't know how much I should speak of. I'm still like actively on parole and different things. So, but I definitely defended my son in the situation and myself. I don't regret that part of it. I regret being high and not knowing how to take care of my kids properly and making them ever have to suffer through that. So that's kind of the crazy effect of what life did. And then while I was out on bond, they initially charged me with 7 felonies. And all of them had to do with firearm specs, and I was going to prison for life. I didn't care. So then it was really full send. Within weeks, we lost everything, homes, cars, ended up living in a tent. It was crazy. And then ended up going to jail. And then when I got out, I was clean. And then by no means was it my children's fault in any way, but I found out that my daughter had said to some coworkers and to her brother and sister-in-law that I was either crazy or that I was on something. And up till then, like, I thought that I was tricking them this whole time, you know, like, and then I went and used, and I had been clean, but it was like, why am I trying if now that I'm clean, they're like, so
yeah, I totally get that.
So I used for a little while, but it was off and on, and then I would never be around my granddaughter when I did it, and my son and daughter-in-law kept showing up because that situation put some distance between me and my daughter, and my kids literally are like my life. So I had failed at that point, and there was no coming back. But every time I couldn't be around my granddaughter because I wouldn't allow myself, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So, like, I remember pulling up in front of my house one day, and it was just, I had had enough. Like, I had probably like a half ounce of meth and scales and like everything, and I just pulled up and threw it all in the dumpster, and I was like, I'm done.
Wow.
Like,
Nice.
So how long did you actively use meth? It didn't sound like it was very long.
it was about a year, maybe, off and on. But there was like it was really weird because I didn't even realize that I had an addiction. And I think that I was definitely an addict before then, with like pain pills and things. Like, I had a broken arm, but then, you know, my pain lasted for 10 years. And it wasn't until like watching you guys and getting some knowledge. And then one day, probably a month, 2 months ago, I had actually messaged you guys and reached out, and I was just like, what do I do? Like, I just realized I'm an addict. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was so crazy. Like, I sat in my house and I messaged my kids, and my daughter had come home, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, I'm an addict. And I'm waiting for her to be like, oh my God, you're an addict? And she was just like, okay. I don't know what you want me to say right now.
We know.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what my son, when he responded, he's like, why are you upset? Like, this is old news. Like, calm down. And I'm like, wait.
Like, you're just catching up.
Yeah.
We're the last to know. We're always the last to know.
Right. It was bad. So yeah, that's kind of, it was crazy. But I don't know. Like, I struggle now with still understanding addiction, which you guys have pointed me in a lot of great directions. And then one of the major things that you guys said to me early on was look for support, you know, somebody that's gonna listen and not like belittle it or anything. And when I felt myself trying to take those steps, my kids are so used to having to lie to me and lie for me that they're immediately just like, bleh. Like, so like that was shutting me down. And so I struggle with that. And they're supposed to be watching tonight. Hopefully they are. So I'm hoping that they can like take something from this and everything that you guys say, and that they can understand that every time I've hurt them was never on purpose, and that, like, I don't even know how to explain. I just want them to understand and know that they've never done anything wrong, and that I always meant well. I always thought I was protecting them.
Yeah, I think you said that perfect. That's what we're listening.
Yeah.
It's hard as a family member to separate the addict from the person, because you're so used to seeing them as one thing. But then when you get to see them separate and get to know the person behind who the addict is, it just is a wonderful blessing. And I'm sure that they'll be able to see that. We could see it as you talk.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So how long do you have clean now?
Right around 8 months. I keep trying to like figure out the like date, but it's right around 8 months.
Good job.
Nice.
That's no joke. 8 months is not easy to get to. Cassie should be popping on here any minute. And I was going to do some questions from the Discord, but let's talk about your 8 months. So you show up at the house, you got half ounce of meth, you got the scales, you're ready to sell, you're smoking, sniffing. Were you slamming it?
No.
No, I never.
I always justified it. I'm like, I'm not an addict. I don't shoot up.
Right? Were you smoking it like crazy though, or?
No, I started eating it because then I wasn't sniffling. My kids would know I'm not doing anything.
Right.
So yeah, I was eating, and it was horrible. Like when I first started, I was snorting, and then I don't know if you've ever ate meth, but it's another level of dangerous.
Oh yeah,
or at least it was for me.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would eat it, sniff a line, and then smoke. Yeah.
Third time's not really a charm there.
Right. So 8 months, you throw it all away. You're eating it, and that's still you're putting it in your body.
Right.
So the first, like, you give up, and you're. How do you get over the first week or two? And you're doing this without like a support system. A lot of us who've come off of, like me coming off alcohol, I instantly was in recovery, right? Like I was getting smashed in the head with it, either if I didn't accept it or not. But so you're by yourself. You're doing this without recovery. COVID's right around the corner, right? So walk us through that whole, like the withdrawals, the sleepy, the closing the back doors, all that stuff.
It was like probably a good solid week and a half of sleeping constantly. At the time, my son and daughter-in-law lived a street over, which was great because they secretly kept me doing what I was doing. Because when I first fell asleep, I was asleep for probably 2.5 days, and my son's showing up, like walking in, like he still lives here, like, why aren't you got no food in the house? What are you doing?
We're hungry.
And he's like, are you? Yeah. And then he was like, let's get something to eat. And I'm just like, no, I'm sick. And like he knew, like I know now that he knew, and that's hard for me, but that's what it was. It was prayer. And then there was 2 times that I almost left, and I'm like, nope. And
left meaning you were going to go back out and use?
Yeah, I was going to get drugs. Like that's
so that moment in your time right there, I just want to kind of dial in on that, because there's some people I know who are kind of going through the same thing. They're at that point, where just everything inside's like give up and just go use, so how did you get through that without a support system?
The first time I can't even say that I got through it myself. The first time I'm like, I'm going to leave and go use. When I stood up, I felt nauseous. And I remember sitting on my bathroom floor and I started to vomit. And as I closed my eyes, like my granddaughter was in my head and my daughter like was in my head, like hearing her say to somebody like, my mom's crazy or she's on something. And it was just like, just those visions made me sicker. So that took me back in that moment and kind of saved me. So then the next time I'm like, forget all of this. Like, I don't want to feel like this. I need energy. Like my kids blowing up my phone, my daughter-in-law, and like they're wanting to come visit. And I'm just like, leave me alone.
And on top of that, on top of your energy levels, on top of the mind playing the tricks to go back out, you're still fighting court stuff, right?
Right.
And maybe since you lost your house and your cars, you probably are in debt to some point. You're trying to dig yourself out with a job of some sort, but you have no energy, right?
Right. None. Which I had like been home like from jail since like February, but like last February.
Mm-hmm.
But nowhere's hiring. Like, so it's like you said, no energy, no nothing. And when you have felonies with gun specs and violent, I'm labeled a violent offender for life.
Right.
Like gas stations are even like, nope.
Wow.
So yeah, like the first time that's how it went. So those visions was kind of in my head. I have no credit for that. I'm not sure whether it was just withdrawal making me see it or what. But the second time, I literally remember holding the door handle and I was just kind of like put those thoughts back in my head on my own. And that helped me. It was like, if something that is being said or done from the people I value the most can make me physically ill, it has to matter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my clutch. Every time when I'm like, I can't do this anymore, is to put those images in my head of either a time that I know hurt me the most because I hurt them, or something that I know that they're thankful for or value me of, or anything. That's really what's got me through. There was about 2 weeks ago, maybe probably 3 now. I hit like this crazy point. I had been working a regular job doing sales. Things kind of fell apart with that. And then I went to work at this factory, and every factory's kind of the same, you know, there's guys, girls, and these guys like sexually harassed me on a different level. And that was it for me. I was like, no. Like by the time I was clocking out, I was already messaging people, like trying to set up to go get high. And then as I'm driving home, thankfully my nephew worked with me, and he was like, what is wrong with you? So I like told him, and he was like, go back right now. And no, it's crazy. Why are you talking crazy? And he's like, I'm talking crazy, really? So thankfully he was there for that moment. But when I got home that night, I said, I can't get high because I can't let my kids down like that. But I couldn't live with that trauma anymore. So I started Googling different medications that I had access to, literally trying to correctly overdose. Which I don't think there is a correct way ever to overdose. just so I don't send the wrong message here. But I took 6 different bottles into the bathroom with me. I sat in the bathtub, like tried to take them in like this timed out time zone, because you know, like my research had told me if I did this and then counteracted with this, that this is gonna happen. And I sat there until it was like, why am I still awake? So I went to bed, and then remember laying there, and it was like I couldn't breathe. And then I woke up the next day mad. Like so mad. Like how am I waking up? And while I was in the bathtub on my phone, I had wrote like this big goodbye letter to like the most important people to me. Right before I fell asleep or whatnot, I sent it to each and every one of them on Facebook Messenger. And the next morning when I wake up, you know, mad, and I'm going to help my dad with firewood, and all of them had messaged me back like question mark or what is this? And the message sent blank. So then right as I was getting to help my dad, my son sent me a regular text message, and he said, Mom, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? And he said, I had a dream that you wasn't here anymore, and I woke up crying.
Aww.
Wow.
My son's not like a crier. I taught them you don't cry. Like, you're not bleeding, you're dying, you don't cry.
Yeah.
Is this your son? Lifestyle Garage? Says we love you, Mama.
That's my son and daughter. Oh, yeah. So I now believe in divine intervention, and all this time that you guys have been preaching, you're not in control. Like, that really shows it. Like, you can't even plan your death. Like, you're never in control of what's going on.
Yep.
So to me, that was it. I'm like, I have to find a way to be okay and to make my kids be okay and get through this with me, because there's no giving up or going back now. So then there's you guys.
I want to back up just real quick, but about your the intuitive recovery tool that you were using, and I call that some divine intervention too. But you were playing what we call playing the tape, right? If you have that craving, if you feel like you want to go get high, just pause for a minute and play the tape. And what you did was played the tape. If I go get high, I'm going to throw it all away again. I'm going to disappoint my kids, and then all the people that you would, hurt would play through your head. And that helped you stay sober through those cravings.
Mm.
And we call that play the tape. And I think that's awesome that intuitively you just did that. That's a blessing. Wow.
Yes. That's what, yeah, like when I've listened to a lot of people talk, I've like the 12 steps. And one time, Felice had actually suggested to me, I don't remember the steps now, but when she said it, I didn't want to sound dumb. Like, oh, I'm in recovery, I don't know. So I was just like, oh, okay. Because I was clueless. But that would be my biggest suggestion to anybody is like what you just said is like, you have to hold on to those moments. If without those moments, I would have never got through this. And without you guys and my kids. And that is like complete honesty.
Wow. So you were white knuckling it, intuitively going through recovery, just divine intervention style for, what was that, about 3 months? And then you found us in our community?
Yes.
Awesome. And you're in the Discord, you're in the private Facebook group and all that?
Yep.
Who are you at? What's your name in the Discord?
It's Kimmie, I believe. I just recently had downloaded that one. So
oh, cool. Yeah, because you can name yourself whatever you want in the Discord, like completely in anonymity. So I don't know. We got all these weird names in there. I'm like, who the heck is this person?
I want to be like Goldfish or something now.
Yeah, you
like me, Joe. Oh, okay.
I've always wanted to be Joe.
So let's so proud of your story and
Very
so
cool.
Inspired by it myself. I mean, I need to hear this stuff. That's kind of why I'm going through this next few weeks of having people come on, because I feel my recovery is kind of slipping lately, but a lot of courage it took to come out and say that. And I'm glad that I hope your children were able to watch and see your care and understand. Hopefully they can see that the person you were on drugs is not who you really are. And that's awesome. And you're in recovery, but I want to talk a couple questions that they posted in the Discord, and maybe you can shine some light. And then with my meth addiction, we can too. Somebody asked, do you feel like you have any long-term effects from it? Anything that's with residual now that you're 8 months clean that you're like, oh, that's because I did too much meth?
Yeah, like I think that there's a lot of things I do daily. Especially it's like always looking over my shoulder, like having to be sure that what's happening is real. And I assume that will probably go away after a while, maybe. But that's definitely there for me. Not sure if you share that same thing or anything close to it, or maybe I am still just crazy. I'm not sure.
Well, trust issues. I mean, I think trust issues for me is a long-term effect because of the hustling, right, that we did while we were high on meth is just like on steroids. And the people that you encounter, like I say, a tweaker is somebody that steals from you and then helps you look for it type of people. So you can't believe anything you're around. It's a high stress situation. And I think just that has kind of affected me through my life.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
This is from your boy. It says, it takes so much courage to tell your story, Mama. You're amazing and loved so much.
I love you guys too.
That's so awesome. The next question is, so we have some people in the Discord who are experiencing what you're going through right now, but they have less days sober, but they were still on uppers, right? How long before you sleep well, get your energy back, get your motivation back? Any tips on motivation in general would be great.
My best advice is create a schedule. Go to bed at 9 o'clock, whether you're tired or not, but like make it set, like dinner at 7, like watch a movie, take a bath after that, like different steps. It's kind of what I have to do now. And if I get out of that pattern at all, like I feel it for days. I'm like, I would just like to sleep for the next week, please. Like, and
you set yourself up a disciplined schedule.
Yeah. Like I have to be productive. At one point I even had like back where the kitty Christmas stuff is now, I had a dry erase board, and I would just write when I get up in the morning, like something positive or even something silly that would kind of like get my day going, and then write things that I needed to do, whether it was a grocery list or if I wanted to say something to the kids or something to do, just things to get your mind going in different directions, even if it doesn't make sense. Like, find a focal point of things to do throughout the day if you have nothing to do, for sure.
That's awesome that you instinctively made a gratitude list too.
Yeah.
That's also a tool.
What is it? Gratitude list?
Yeah.
Gratitude list.
Things you're grateful for, positive things to say.
Yeah, positive things to say. Just getting yourself on the right mindset.
That's cool.
We talk about that here too. Like, it's at first it's not easy, right? You're looking for motivation. The only thing you think about is all the crap you just went through. And at first it becomes like a forced gratitude. Like, I have to force myself to be thankful for something, but you do it, force yourself. And then eventually it starts becoming like a real reality.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's probably the only solid advice that I can give, because I definitely don't feel like I'm in the clear yet. It's still rocky, but from what I hear, that's kind of just being an addict in recovery in general.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then, like, the advice you guys give is find support, find anybody you can talk to. Message these guys; they're great. They will guide you in the right direction.
100%. So 8 months. What month, is there a month that stands out in your head that it was harder than the rest as far as cravings and going back out? Was it the first week, or was it the second month, or?
It was, I'm gonna say, probably like halfway through was the hardest. Like 4 or 5 months, like right around that point was standoutish. It was like, you're there, but you're still not there.
Right.
Like, you're still lying, because I had still at that point not admitted anything, even though everybody knew it. I was still lying. Like, go ahead and say that I've used drugs or been around them. I'm gonna be like, no, I haven't. So it was like, you're there, but you're not there. Like, all the pieces just hadn't come together. So like halfway there was enough to be like, I can't do this. But then it was just that, pulling those pieces together. So replaying my nightmares, what I've always called it. But I like your guys' words better.
Say that. What?
Replaying her nightmares.
Replaying your nightmares. Yeah.
She likes that word better.
I like that one better. I'm gonna have to use that. I always give a warning, like from 30 to 60 to 90 days, somewhere in there, I say is the speed bump of some sort. You know, that's where I fell off. That's where in what I've experienced through working with everybody for this last year, it seems like 30 to 60 days, people usually fall off or relapse or lapse. And that's awesome. You got through it. But if you're watching and you're going through that right now, up your program, jump in, connect a little deeper, up your recovery game a little bit, start scheduling out your days, do whatever you got to do. And that's cool. You got through it. And so now you're 8 months. What are your plans right now? Like, how are you feeling today as far as the whole holistic view of your recovery?
Real quick, do you know William?
Yes, that is my son's son.
Okay, yeah, he said, I'm watching. We love you. I just seen that. I'm glad it didn't pop up here.
It was on Facebook?
That's great. I love you too, William. I always taught my kids, like, this was major for me, and I feel great about it today. To answer your question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to veer.
No, you're good.
I feel great because you guys gave me the opportunity to be honest with myself, be honest with my kids. I didn't want to be honest with them face to face and then feel like they had to respond, or they was going to respond incorrectly or be the reason that something like fails. But in my household, like raising them through the law enforcement side, there was the crazy discipline. And then through the drug side, there was just the crazy. So it was what happens in our house stays in our house. What we do, whatever. Like, you don't talk to people. We don't tell your story. You don't cry unless someone's bleeding or dead. So I made them suppress all these emotions. And so, like, it was crazy. And that's another thing that I hope the whole world can hear, that like it's okay to feel and it's okay to be who you are, because nothing is expected of you other than just that.
So have you been listening to that book we're going through, It'll Never Happen to Me?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like that.
Very
Yeah,
much
don't
so.
talk about it.
Yeah. Don't Glock, don't feel, don't speak.
Yeah. So are your kids? I know they're watching. Are they getting help too for all the stuff they went through? Like
They're not. They again, like I beat that in their head. Like, this is what you do. This is what you do, and that's been my roadblock lately. Is that I don't know. I didn't know how to make them hear my story because they knew my story, but like the rape thing was very hard for my son because I was never honest with him. And when he found out, he freaked. I remember him trying to leave my house, and he's never like disrespected me. And in that moment he did. Like, I had pushed him and he pushed me back, and he was just like, I don't mean anything to you. Like, you can't even talk to me. So needless to say, it was escalated more than that. But I remember leaning in his truck and grabbing his keys, and I was just so angry. But the look on his face, like, they struggled so much from not being able to protect me from myself.
Yeah, yep. That's the hardest part.
And they have no control over us at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And neither do we, and we didn't even know it.
Exactly. Now, I could empathize with your son. I mean, if that was my mom, I would call my brother, and we would probably both of us would be in prison right now. Guaranteed.
Right. And he would have. And he still struggles with that to this day. And I worry because I made him suppress so much. And now he's 22 and he has a little girl and a wife and a sister that's 19. So his rage when any kind of like adversity with any situation is just, it's a lot. Like, so sorry, I definitely veered from there. The answer to them getting any kind of help is no, because up until tonight and you guys making it possible for them to come together for this, it was never acceptable to like talk to people and do things. And even today my son's telling me like, I'm never doing blah blah blah. I'm like,
never,
calm down. Right.
It's funny you say that because I had a girlfriend way back in my meth days. This is before I used meth, and we were pretty committed to each other, I guess, and we were young. But she started doing meth, and so I broke up with her. I'm like, oh, screw you, you crazy tweaker, you know? And like 2 years later, she shows up at a house, and she's clean, and she's like, and I'm on the couch all methed out, and she's poking at me. Oh, look who's the drug addict now. Poking at me. So yeah, never say never.
Yeah.
Right. I'm so glad that I'm not the only person that's experienced that.
Yep. I'm going to talk to William real quick. Hey, William. It's okay to get help. We're broken too.
Yeah.
There's Al-Anon out there. There's lots of research you can do on your own. I know the AA book is for alcohol, but it really helped me understand addiction. Or just Google it. There's so many resources out there on how to get help, because you might not think you're the one that was broken and hurt sometimes, but you were. So recover together with your mama.
Amen. That's good advice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to add? That's an hour.
Oh, wow. No,
You
I
can
don't
keep
think
going.
so.
I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying.
Other than thank you guys and much love, and anybody that is struggling with being okay, like, it's okay not to be okay, and just don't do the bad memories, but play the tape thing, like he said.
Alicia says, I did everything I said I would never do. She has a very similar story to you as far as meth and law enforcement in the family. So I'm sure it's hitting home with her.
And you had so much love and support in this chat. I don't know if you saw all the messages, but everybody was very encouraged and grateful that you told your story.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. I will go back through and read them. I was staring at the corner because I was nervous.
Oh, and the best way to heal, William, is honesty. You need to be honest with your mom too, how you feel.
And honest with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And call me out on my BS.
Yes.
Yeah. If you know what your mom does, let her know.
Thanks.
That's so cool. Well, you want to stick around and pray with us, and then we'll close up.
Yes.
Cool. God,
grant us the Trinity, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Alan says, meth is a drug that I got arrested for that started my sober journey almost 6 years ago. Oh, wow. Merck says, thank you so much sharing your story with us, Kimmie. You are brave and strong. And Merck knows, man. That dude's been around as long. You've seen him in the chat, I'm sure.
Yes.
You know,
Thank you, Mark. Yes.
Is this your first time telling your story to a group?
To anybody.
Okay.
Wow.
Very brave.
That's very brave. So you're a typical addict. When you're going to go big, right?
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Go big or go home. Got to do them both today.
So
Got to go big in my home.
Very much.
Jeanette says you're awesome, Kimmie. Yeah, I would encourage you to go back and read through a lot of these comments that are for you. Absolutely.
Well, thank everybody. You guys are the greatest.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, I'm just going to close her down right here if you want to stick around for a second.
Okay.
Hey, guys, Thursday, right? Thursday is going to be Jake, whatever Jake's got planned. Until then, listen up, y'all. Do not put yourself in a high-risk situation. Stay strong, work your programs, and remember, we recover better together.